Keyonte has unlocked the code. It's next on Locked on Jazz.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.
How are you? I am David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz. It's your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, give you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked on Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps as well as on YouTube. And thank you for making Locked On the number one sports podcast network. Everydayers, you're the best. A month from now, I've got something exciting for you. Lots to talk about tonight. The life of Derrick White. We'll touch on that when we wrap the show. I do have a few late game watches from a few days ago. Kyle Filipowski was terrific last night. EJ, they call him Elijah Harkless, changed everything for the Jazz. Bryce Sensabaugh does not play last night. We're starting with Keyonte George, who so far, 7 episodes into the season, is completely not only transformed who he is as a player, but has completely checked every box we talked about all season long for who he needs to be and what he can become and why I was so bullish on him all offseason. It's awesome. Jazz get a nice win last night in Boston, led by Key. So let's start there. The first part of this, let's just start with this. The kid turns 22 this week. All right, so we always have to remember that, right? He turns 22 this week. Kind of awesome. We've watched him just come to us as a 19-year-old who turned 20, a 20 turned 21, now at 21 years going to turn 22. We've seen him for 3 years as a child. And so we're watching growth. We're watching off-the-court growth. We're watching that makes mom and dad happy. We're watching life growth, which makes Keyonte happy. And we're watching basketball growth, which makes fans happy. It's cool. Let's dig into it a little bit. I want to dig into it. There are just some real numbers here that tell the story. So the first thing on Keyonte is, and frankly, he's doing this without the ball totally going in yet. I think it's going to. I'm not particularly concerned about it, but it's going to. All right, let's start with a few things here. Let's start with teammate usage, point guard. Here's Keyonte's assist rate. So that is the percentage of his teammates' made shots that he assisted on while he's on the court. In his rookie year, it was 24%. There's another number here. This is from Cleaning the Glass. Assist rate compared to usage rate. How often a player gets an assist given how much they had the ball, okay? And how much they shoot. His assist to usage rate was 0.99. So let me just stay on this. I don't want to overwhelm you with too many numbers here. Assist rate, let's just stay there for a second. 24% his rookie year, 27% his second year, and 38% so far this year. I'll say it again because they're numbers and they just fly in the air and they're hard to grasp. 24, 27 plus 3, 38 plus 11. Incredible. So assist to usage rate, 0.99, 1.05 plus 0.06, 1.26 plus 0.21. Okay, so he's involving his teammates at a much higher rate while scoring much more, while being much more involved. if you actually look at these numbers, they're a little bit why I was so bullish all offseason on Keyonte George. There were lots of signs last year that this was coming. There was a really noticeable jump from year one to year two if you kind of dug in a little bit, even though most players don't make a jump year one to year two. He made some real strides. And now he is exploding in year three. And the first part is he's not doing it in a selfish way. That's why I wanted to point that out, because that's the coolest thing to me. Now let's get to part two of this. He worked all off season with Chris Jones, Jazz assistant coach, who's a star. And one of the things they worked on was obviously in his strength and conditioning. He's in better physical shape. He's stronger, but he's playing lower, which allows him to have straighter line drives and be more powerful, which allows him to get fouled, which allows him, if he's not getting fouled, to explode up and get up over people. And when you watch him, he's noticeably above people in a way that he didn't used to be. And his rim finishing has gone from 59% to 61% to 67%. I think rim, again, I've talked about this a lot, like rim finishing is kind of a weird number because whether it's a 4 or 5 footer kind of determines whether it's rim finishing. If he rises up from 4 feet out and puts it off the glass, to me, it sure is a layup. Does not seem to be counted that way. So then we get into his short mid-range stuff where he lived a lot the last few years, too much so, frankly. And his short mid-range stuff is 43%, 41. It's now 62%. That's not going to last. That's unnatural. Now, his three-point shooting is not good right now. It's at 28%. His effective field goal percentage overall is still not good. It's actually right where it was a year ago. His overall shooting has not changed. His rim finishing is around the basket stuff because his three is not falling. He's been a 34% three-point shooter in his career. He's at 28% right now. It's coming. That'll circle back. Here's the one where everything has changed. And this is why he's actually an efficient player now, which he has not been in his career. And I almost feel the transformation that's going on here with Keyonte is so much more locker room, personality, leadership. Like there was a key play last night. If you heard my play-by-play call, I'm crazy. I went back and listened to the last 7 minutes to critique myself, so I know I said this, where I talked about him calmly coming up the right side of the floor with a confidence and a belief. Like he just looks different every second. It's pretty awesome. But let's go to the key thing, the foul drawing. Percentage of a player's shot attempts when he's fouled. And honestly, this is what changes players. If you go back to James Harden and like where I always say, like, you knew it was coming. I'm not saying Keyonte's going to the Hall of Fame, but you knew it was coming is because of his foul drawing early in his career. Like if you can get to the free throw line, you can get to be efficient. Keyonte's first year, 11% of his shots he was fouled. His second year, 12%. Now, it went from 10.9 to 12.4, and honestly, that was a step in the right direction, but if you really asked me, and I said this on the air, I thought a lot of it had to do with the fact that he was coming off the bench and playing in the bonus. He's moved from 12% of his shots where he's getting fouled to 22%. 12% was actually pretty good. It's in the 83rd percentile of combo guards. This is now in the 97th percentile. This is pretty awesome. This kid is now going to the line 9 times a game, almost every night. It's big time. And then you couple like his assist rate on a night in and night out basis up in the 40s until last night. And then they could not get Lauri Markkanen an advantage. They could not make breakthrough in the first half. They scored the fewest amount of points they've scored in the first half in ages, since like Orlando in 20, like something or other. It's like the 14th lowest half scoring in the history of the Jazz last night. And then this is the next major step by Keyonte. He took over the game. He recognized he didn't take over the game the way he did in Golden State as a rookie when he just got hot. He's had those. He's had nights where he hits 6 or 7 threes and he just gets hot. And he just keeps shooting. And then this was a conscious effort, understanding that Lauri Markkanen could not get free, could not get the ball. They could not get the advantages they usually get. Somebody else had to take advantage, and Keyonte went to work. It's worth going to look at to see who he went to work against, because Derrick White's a pretty darn good defender. One of the key plays of the night, Keyonte goes left hand, stutter steps, comes back, hesitates, rocks it back a second time, draws the foul on Derrick White to go to the free throw line on one of the biggest plays of the game. 2-time all-defensive player. I mean, there are a lot of pieces. Getting to the line is the biggest one, because what getting to the line has done on Keyonte is literally changed his efficiency. So if you look at Keontae's overall points per shot attempt, let me just do percentile to his position. Oh, actually, no, I'll give it to you. You guys are smart enough. If you took 100 shots, rookie year was 105 points. Sophomore year was 109 points. So plus 4. Again, there was a sign that it was going right. This year is 120. 105 plus 4 to 109 to 120 plus 11. The kid has unlocked it. This is, I mean, he's got to just keep going to the line. And then when he starts to hit a few threes, lights up, lights out. Like if he can get to 35, 36% from three, which he's really not done in his career, I got it. Lights out. Pretty exciting. Pretty awesome stuff. Way to go, Key. Rooting for you. This is fun. Super work by everyone involved. This is actually what this is all about, right? This is the development. So give a shout out to his coach, Chris Jones, who's a real rising star of player development and also just be a great coach, summer league coach. Give a shout out to the strength and conditioning staff. Give a shout out to Keyonte George. Elijah Harkless. What do the Jazz have here? Next, I'm Locked on Jazz. Tuesday edition of Locked on Jazz is brought to you by Murdoch Hyundai, located at 4646 South State Street. Also located in Logan and in Linden. Pretty awesome. The Murdochs in Utah now for almost 90 plus years, celebrating the state, who they are, their role, their commitment, and the Hyundai car. Absolutely fabulous. I am driving the Santa Fe Hybrid, which you see out there a lot right now because it's cool and they have great colors and it looks awesome and it drives amazing. So go check it out at Murdoch Hyundai, located in Linden and in Logan and at 4646 South State Street. The new Santa Fe, amazing. Absolutely incredible. If you're looking for an SUV, I just can't imagine why you'd, with all the bells, all the whistles, all the features you get, why you'd spend more than what you can do on that. There's also the Palisade, there's the Tucson, and there's the Kona. They've got the hybrids of all of them. It's the answer. Like, I think I get 600 miles per tank of gas right now. It's incredible. If you're heading out there, though, email me first so we can get you the VIP treatment that you deserve at Murdoch Hyundai. Email me at dlock09@gmail.com. That's dlock09@gmail.com so I can get you the VIP treatment that you deserve at Murdoch Hyundai. Today's show is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time, NBA games, NFL games, concert, whatever it might be, nothing beats being in the arena for these events. So let's do it, but let's be real. Also, getting tickets can be a total headache. Waiting in queues, surprise fees, prices that jump. None of that's happening at Game Time, the app that gives the fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets, fast, easy, and stress-free. And the zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section, Game Time picks your seats, and you save big. You can even find NBA tickets for under $25 to some games. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets, NFL tickets, or concert tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. You also can use it for hockey. And we got a hot hockey team in town. That's code Locked On NBA, LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game time. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen today. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Incredible. You guys are amazing. So Will Hardy has been preaching and demanding defensive effort, on-ball coverage. Ron Boone and I were watching a bunch of our games, and the #1 thing was that the amount of blow-bys and the amount of penetration that we were watching was leading to such long closeouts that guys just had all day to shoot their threes. And it really was pretty horrific. Specifically, honestly, Walt Clayton and Bryce Sensabaugh on a bunch of small switches had really struggled. And Will even talked about that in pregame last night. Will talked about that, asked what the best thing about the Celtics were, and he said they're disciplined on small switches. And then later he talked about that the Jazz had to be better on some of these switches. So it was clear, and he said it, and at some point you got to back it up. And he went to Elijah Harkless last night for 21 minutes. Bryce Sensabaugh, Cody Williams do not play. That's pretty awesome. If you don't know the Elijah Harkless story, I'm guessing if you're a Locked On Jazz listener, you might. But if you don't, which is totally fine, let's take a second and give it to you. It's kind of incredible. So Elijah grows up in Southern California in San Bernardino, and out of Rancho Cucamonga High School, or at high school in Rancho Cucamonga, he is really not a prospect. His team's pretty good. Like, they do things, but he only averages 10 points and a few assists. And while he's all like first team in his area, he's not really known. And basketball is going to be his answer. Like, that's his only way to get to college. And he's going to find a way. And at that point, he's going to a junior college to be able to get to college. So this is the one and only way he can make it to college. That's what he's told me. And he eventually ends up at the last second, Cal State Northridge, which is a small school. I mean, it's like a state school. And there's a ton of these. There's Cal State San Bernardino, Cal State Northridge, but I don't even know what conference they play in, frankly. He attends there, and he plays there for 2 years. He averages 8 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. I mean, he's playing like 23 minutes a night. He is not wowing anyone in some massive fashion. He just plays hard. He does get a triple-double at one point. He gets 54 steals in that year. So, like, it's Elijah Harkless. And as a junior, he gets to transfer to Oklahoma. So now he's on the main stage. And he's at Oklahoma, and he plays 2 years in Oklahoma. He plays in like 50 games. He averages 9 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Again, he's playing like 29 minutes a night. He's a player. He's out there. He's wrecking havoc. He's a beautiful college player. He gets a COVID year, so he gets a 5th year, and he goes to UNLV. And all of a sudden, he's a little different. Now, he's also, at this point, he's now 23 playing 18-year-old kids. Like, this is, like, let's not underestimate that part of that. And he averages 19 points a game. Gets his 5 rebounds, his 3 assists, but now he's playing 31 minutes, and now he's a major piece. And so he goes through the whole draft process in 2023, which there's some interesting kind of post-COVID draft things that I think happened where guys got lost, and he doesn't get drafted, and he ends up on the Ontario Clippers. And I've got to go back and find out, but I actually think it's a little bit of an open tryout deal there. Southern California, he's back with his team, and he plays in 20 G League games, and he does Elijah Harkless things. He plays 22 minutes, he gets 12 points, he gets 4 rebounds, he gets 3 assists. And he then goes to play. I mean, he's just trying to play, right? So in April of that year, He goes and plays in the Canadian Elite Basketball League. Did you even know the Canadian Elite Basketball League was out there? Our good friend from Locked On Raptors, Sean Woodley, actually calls those games. Goes back 2024, and he signs with the San Diego Clippers, which is now the G League team has moved, and he gets waived. And then on January 1st of last year, the Jazz signed him to a two-way contract. So let's give a little credit to whoever it is in the scouting department, whether it's Bart Taylor or Katie or whoever, or Marquise or whoever it is that's kind of on the, or maybe it was Justin, right? But who's got G League assignments, who said, hey, this is we need this guy. Marquise was the GM of the G League at the time last year, so maybe it was Marquise Newman. And Elijah has just won people over ever since. This summer, when we went to Summer League, all we heard about, Scott Morrison coached the first games in Salt Lake, and he just talked to us. Elijah Harkless has been the best player in camp every day. That did not count Keyonte. And then, frankly, in training camp, Elijah was great. And Elijah did not shoot it well in the Summer League this year. And Elijah said his wrist was injured, and that's why. And he's got to shoot it well. That's going to be a little bit of the question on him, of whether he can shoot it well. And he's just little. Everything is against this guy, right? He's maybe 6'3", maybe 6'4", as they list him. He has not shown that he's a great shooter yet. He says he is. He also says he's the best defensive player in the league. He may be right. And last night, for the first time ever, he basically got major rotation minutes in an NBA game. He played 12 games, I think 10 games for the Jazz last year, but that was different last night. That was him playing major minutes in a game that matters, not a late April game. And he didn't do the late April stuff for us, if you remember last year. His stretch where he played for us was kind of middle of January through January 11th to the 20th. And he did play some he played 22 minutes in some of those games. He was part of the rotation, shot the three, not as well as he would have liked. And had a nice little 8-game run with us where he was kind of part of the rotation last night, but he was in the game for final minutes last night. It's probably an overstretch to say that was his first time he had major rotation minutes. But this is what this kid does. He played 8 games for us last year. He shot 33% in that stretch, 28% from three. So that's going to be the question. But the tempo and the energy and the tenacity that he played with last night completely changed the game. Completely changed the game. And seems though everybody followed. He's on the ball. He had Jaylen Brown. Our ball pressure forced them into 14 off-the-bounce threes. They're not a particularly good off-the-bounce three shooting team. They went 2 of 14 last night on off-the-bounce threes. They went 9 of 37 on catch and shoot. At some point, that's just getting lucky. And part of winning a 1-point game last night, we got lucky. But Harkless also gets a steal. Tip of the hat to George Rodman, the challenger. The Jazz won 2 challenges that took points off the board last night in a 1-point win. It's a pretty good night for, if you want to know if, as a member of the organization, do you help with wins? That's how you do it, right? If you're George Rodman. There's a lot of little plays last night in that fourth quarter. It's pretty. I went back and re-listened to the radio broadcast because I'm trying to get better every night. And so that, I just heard play after play after play where you're like, oh, wow, we really needed that one. And Harkless was a part of many of those. Kyle Filipowski busts out the life of Derrick White and a late game watch, all coming up on today's edition of Locked On Jazz. Today's show is brought to you in part by FanDuel. FanDuel is the official sports book of the NBA and the official sports book of Locked On. FanDuel is actually the sports betting partner of the NBA. And the NBA is back. There's no better way to get in the action. Even if you missed the start of a game and want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to the fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Locked On and the NBA. Let's check what the FanDuel lines are for the NBA tonight and tomorrow, if we can, if it's possible. Quick check of the NBA tonight. They've got a bunch of parlay bets for you for the Magic and the Hawks. Back-to-back for Milwaukee. They're in a 4.5-point underdog in Toronto. The Bulls are a 1.5 favorite over the 76ers. Magic are favored against the Hawks. Pelicans and the Hornets, somebody has to win. Pelicans are actually favored. Warriors are a 10.5-point favorite against the Suns. That's a big line. And the Thunder go to the Clippers and are a 7.5-point favorite. Who ended up winning that Miami Clipper game last night? It was back and forth, and I dozed. Miami wins at 110, 120, 119. All right. That's all at FanDuel.com. Check out NBA Game Night. Every night we go back through all of the games. It's on Locked On NBA. It's a super fun show. Kyle Filipowski's really had been struggling. He was 1 of 10 on above the break threes. His shot wasn't there for him. He still got a few moving picks last night, but then in the fourth quarter, he changed his game, playing in some space, and I don't know why he got so much. He was able to kind of put it on the deck. He's been really good on the curl play where he puts on his right hand, gets to the basket, and is able to finish. But last night, he started putting on the deck, making guys move, making him guard him in space, and then he did hit a big three along the way as well. Super cool to see. Kyle actually was our post-game guest afterwards. He's got incredible offensive skills. And he's going to have to figure out how to guard in space. There's just no question. And that's going to be the bugaboo. Plus 19 for him in 19 minutes. Hit 2 of 3 from 3. Had 8 rebounds last night. 2 turnovers, both of them on moving picks. And he had 13 points in 19 minutes. But this was Kyle getting back to playing more as kind of a bully, playing with his back to the basket, using his lower body strength, using his dribble skills rather than just being a shooter. I just don't think he's a good enough shooter to just be like an old school Ryan Anderson step outside 3-point guy. He's going to have to use the array of his offensive skills of getting it, putting it on the deck, going to the basket, turning on guys, beating them to the basket, and doing that. And that's how he's going to be. And he was really good last night. All right, I think the life of Derrick White is super interesting right now. And I think it's important for us as we evaluate NBA players. So Derrick White has been a borderline all-star, 2-time all-defensive player, NBA champ, most unheralded player in the NBA. Everybody loves him. Everyone talks about Derrick White as being fabulous. And I love Derrick White, and he was the number 1 player I thought we should have traded for during the Quinn Snyder era. He would have been perfect to complement the diminutive guard line that we have. I'm so sad we never did. And it's one of the great trades that Boston ever made in 2022 when they made the trade deadline deal to get Derrick White. I think it's like an absolute heist. They gave away even 1 or first 2-round picks, and it turned out, I think, to be nothing. They traded to Boston for Romeo Langford, Josh Richardson, and a 2022 first-round pick, which became Blake Wesley. I mean, this was an outrage to how much Boston fleeced. They gave away nothing. Yes, I still wonder to this day. Yes, that's the player. Okay, I said it on the air at the time. Easy for me to say. But Derrick White has been fabulous. He's been a 15-point a game, 5 assists, 4-rebound guy who's an incredible defensive player. And he was playing with Drew Holiday and Jason Tatum and Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis and all these guys. And his shooting percentage in San Antonio in the 2021 season was 41%. And then he went to Boston, and he suddenly played with all these really good players, and he shot 46%. And his 3-point shooting, which was 31% for some of the time and 33%, it was kind of all over the map in San Antonio, and people thought he wasn't a very good shooter. Understandably, his last year, he shot in the last 49 games, he shot 31%. The year before, 34%. It was he suddenly became a 38, 40%, and 38% 3-point shooter. And Derrick White was the star, and it was amazing that what they got for San Antonio gave up, etc. And now Jason Tatum's out with an Achilles tendon, And now Al Horford's gone, and now Kristaps Porzingis is gone, and now Drew Holiday's gone, and Derrick White suddenly has to take 17 shots a game instead of 12, and Derrick White is taking 10 threes a game instead of 5, and Derrick White has this incredible burden on him, and he's taking 7 twos instead of 3, and he's shooting 30%. And he's shooting 25% from 3. And he looks like he's terrible. And it's a good reminder about the context of what a player's able to succeed in and whether you're asking him to play in the rightful order of the basketball universe. Because the rightful order of the basketball universe for Derrick White is to play with all of these great players, be a complimentary player, and defend. And right now he's their second option, and he looks awful. And so very easily you can decide that Derrick White's not very good, and that's the art. Aaron Gordon did not look very good in Orlando, and then he went to Denver and became the third option, and he looks outstanding. And that's a little bit of the game one in player acquisition, but it's also, if we're evaluating our players, it's where the Keyonte jump is so incredible because he's actually doing this kind of the primary guy, is when we start to evaluate our players, we ask a lot out of our guys because our team's not very good. Same way Derrick White in San Antonio on a not very good team was being asked to do all sorts of stuff, and it was probably more than he could probably do. And so then he didn't look quite as good. So San Antonio said, let's move on from him. He goes to Boston. He's an absolute stud. He ends up being on the Olympic team because he's such a stud. And now he looks awful again. Same player, different roles that don't match his skill set. It's worthwhile looking at on our guys. Like, as we get better and better, it actually gets easier to play well. Right now is probably single hardest environment for all of our guys to play well because there's a lack of support around them. And so some of our criticism or critiques or evaluations probably need to try to be done in a context of, well, wait a sec. If we put more guys around this guy, what can he actually do? Bryce Sensabaugh's got to be able to defend, but Bryce Sensabaugh goes and plays for another team. He's going to get a lot more looks for 3. Bryce Sensabaugh goes and plays in Cleveland where Donovan and Darius Garland are getting in the post and they're kicking out to him every time. Pretty deadly. High pick and roll team, kicks out to shooters. Pretty good match right now, but he's got to be able to defend. So anyway, it's just a life Derrick White. All right, I'm going to do a bunch of late game. I'm going to watch a bunch on the plane. We'll do a bunch of late game watches tomorrow. We're late into the show and update you on that. We'll do it kind of as one batch tomorrow on the show. Thanks so much for tuning into Locked On Jazz on today's edition. We now send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA channel, Locked On NBA. And make sure you check out the audio and video version of Locked On NBA Game Night, every game, every night with the guys.